We're talking about thriving all month, right? And specifically, we focus during this month around abundance, prosperity, financial abundance, and prosperity is way beyond the financial realm of our lives, both individually and collectively. The interesting thing about financial abundance and money is that it's objective. It actually is a symbol. It is measurable. And it's a good way. It's a litmus test to sort of see how does this stuff really work. And we tend to hold money off to the side, don't we, as some little special thing. And oh my gosh, like money is so charged in our life, not necessarily positively, but it's merely a way that allows us to have the prosperous life, do the things we want to do without stress or strain or lack, limitation. At least I found. Yes, it's sort of like this currency. And so we spend this month to focus not merely on financial prosperity, but for the prosperity of your life, for the prosperity of this community's life, so it thrives, so that every week we all get to continue to expand our mind and expand our life and make it grow in better and better ways. And we get to focus on certain principles. And it's really good to put it towards money because, again, it's tangible. We can see, sort of like the parking spaces we would want in the beginning. Like, I want a parking space. It's a way to see how this stuff works and how the flow is. So, I'm happy to talk about one of my favorite subjects today, and that is we're going to talk about the big three and me. It's all about me, y'all. Now, some of you know me and know that that's really true. Leo, upbringing, the world revolves around me. It's really not about you, it's about me. So you can go home now because you're tired of it being about me. But let me tell you what the me is. And I have started using this over the past few years, and it's really expanded my growth of the understanding and the practice of our principles. It's all about me. But the me stands for mental equivalent. Not really Karen me. I was playing with you. But it's about mental equivalent. And I remember when I came into Science of Mind in 2007 in Foundations class, the very first class, this term was spoken about very early on, and I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't grasp it. I'm like, what do you mean mental equivalent? It sounded very complicated and cumbersome and difficult to me. And since then, I have a very clear understanding of mental equivalent, and I use it a lot in my life every single day. Well, what is a mental equivalent? I go right to the glossary in the Science of Mind textbook and look up what does Ernest Holmes say about mental equivalent. And he says it is having a subjective idea of a desired experience. As we bring ourselves to a greater vision than the range of our present concepts, we can then induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate more in our experience. That's a pretty funky font. It changed since this morning and last night, but I hope you can read it. So, first of all, let's break this down. To assist in what we're talking about. Have a subjective idea. So it's to have an idea that's subject to something. So I must have an idea that is subject to, say, the outcome, or subject to the universal law doing its thing, right? And I must, in this definition, I need to bring myself to a greater vision, something that is beyond sort of what I've been thinking presently. So I'm going to a greater vision, and that's beyond what my current concepts understanding, precepts are. So we're just going to stay where we are if we don't go beyond. So that's what he's telling us, is like, can we go beyond that? And then, as we go beyond that, we can induce it. We can actually be causal. We can bring it about, induce it, and demonstrate more in our experience. And by demonstrating more in our experience, what tends to happen is now we know that we can have a greater concept, and it becomes a snowball. And once we start working with mental equivalent and we go beyond it, and then we induce it, and then it actually happens, then we get to keep moving and growing and go beyond. You with me? So he says that we can only bring into our experience, though, what we can conceive. So we have to conceive of something greater. We have to imagine something greater. We have to somehow go beyond where it is we currently are. Because there's no limit to the law, but there appears to be a limit to our understanding of it, and a limit to sometimes going beyond what we think we can actually have in our life or experience in our life. So we are providing the mold for this creative law, and unless the mold we provide is increased, substance cannot increase in our experience. So that's the first thing. We have to go beyond where we are right now. And that relates to our financial affairs, our relationship affairs, our work, our passion affairs, what we do most of the hours in our day. We must go beyond it. And as we go beyond it, I'm going to read this for y'all. As we go beyond it, we must understand that it must be measured out to us according to our own measuring. So we're the one that's doing the measuring cup. We're the only one doing it. It's measured out to us as we are measuring ourselves, not someone else outside of us, not a family friend member. We're the ones that doing the measuring. We must not only believe, but we must know that our beliefs measure the extent and the degree of our blessing. So if our belief is limited, only a little can come to us. Actually, only a little can come through us. There is no limit to what can come through us unless we limit it, right? Because, as the master teacher says, it is done unto us as we believe. And this we call the law of mental equivalence. Okay, so one of the big ways that I went into a quantum leap in my practice of science of mind several years ago, the quantum leap was I decided to hold this thing called God, Spirit, the universal presence, whatever one chooses to call it. I had a new vision. I held a greater vision, something that I could grab a hold of within myself. And that is, I started to increase my mental equivalence by holding it inside of me as divine oceanic substance. And many of you have heard me use this term. It's now a term I use all the time. It's divine oceanic substance, because I can easily wrap my mind and my body around the fact that I am swimming in this ocean that's always present. The substance is omnipresent everywhere. All of it is right here everywhere. No matter where I am, I'm swimming in it. I can't get out of it. It's not escaping me at any point. And so I'm swimming in life in this divine oceanic substance. And when I have a sense of this is not possible, or how is this going to happen, or anything that comes up in my life, how am I financially going to make it? Whatever it is, it's like, no, it's my anchor. I come back to, but I'm swimming in this divine oceanic substance. It's everywhere present. There is no lack in my life, and I keep swimming and holding this idea, right? And so I remind myself about this over and over again, and I remind myself in my own life. I use divine oceanic substance in my treatment when I'm doing a treatment for you, and I certainly think of the divine oceanic substance when I'm thinking about our collective lives and humanity and all the times that I'm getting scared about that. I don't know about you, but sometimes I am. And so I'm like, we're all swimming in this divine oceanic substance. This is okay. It's happening. There's infinite intelligence, knows what it does, right? But I must hold a vision of anything. I must have a mental equivalent. So, what are the big three for the law of mental equivalent? How do we do this? I must hold a mental equivalent. So the first one is, we begin with, we must imagine. We must imagine fields of green and red roses too. We must imagine that there is technology that helps us move through this climate change. Whatever it is, I must imagine that I have more than enough to share and to spare in my life no matter what, even when letting go of a full-time salary and benefits and going, whoa, I must imagine. I start with, what is this? The what. And what helps me a lot, and sometimes I'll watch it, it's an oldie but goodie, folks, is I actually think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, now that's some imagination. Just think the sweets and what the imagination was for that. Chocolate rivers and, little toadstools that you could pick up and eat. And, what your Oompa Loompas. What's your favorite part of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? My favorite thing is the everlasting gobstopper. That's also another word that I use for God. It's the everlasting gobstopper that just keeps on giving me the sweetness of my life. But I have to do something to imagine something beyond where I am currently. Okay? And thriving. I must imagine financial abundance even when I let go of a full-time salary with benefits. And I did that a year ago. Many of you know that. It was like, wow, we just went from 2 salaries to 1. Woo! I must imagine that we have more than enough to share and to spare no matter what. Right? Or maybe it's health right now. I just went through that in Bali. Oh my gosh, I had to imagine. I had to have a mental equivalent. When it comes to my body, I do that pretty quickly. I imagine this. I imagine my left thumb doing this. I did that several years ago. Why is October the month of standing here with things on my body? But a few years ago, it just came up on my Facebook memory. I was in the boot because of my ankle, because I'd broken my ankle. Went my whole life without breaking any bones, and now I've done it twice. And it's like, oh, but I have a mental equivalent. I'm imagining the left thumb doing that, even though it's actually not doing it right now. I hold it in my mind's eye, and when I need an anchor to help me go left thumb, I go, there you are, there you are. That's what I did for 12 weeks. For this ankle, I was like, look, right ankle, you see that? I was using it to imagine. So maybe we can't imagine in our own life. But maybe you use me as your anchor, or you use Christine or Candy. She's the jazz singer now, just going all over singing. Whatever it is, we can use other people to be that right thumb. What about other situations and circumstances in collective humanity? We've got to imagine what it can be like. What is our what for us all getting along as yet another war looks like it's starting? Where's our right thumb? What are we imagining? So, in this, we definitely must have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire. A demonstration, this is Ernest Holmes, a demonstration like anything else in the objective life is born out of a mental concept. The mind is the fashioning factor, and according to its range, vision, and positiveness is the circumstance or experience. So as we hold and grow that range, that vision, and that positiveness, that is what we experience. So to have a strong mental picture or mental concept is so significant. First key, really big thing. And holding to that equivalent regardless of the situation or circumstance. I could just focus and go, yeah, well, it's not moving. It hurts. You know, I just really doubt. I saw it when it was staring at me on the streets of Ubud, my knuckle bloody. I mean, I won't give you all the details. But it was bad. And I just looked down and went, well, isn't that interesting? I did. I was like, I wasn't going to get hung on that condition. And before I left the area, the last thing I did was ask one of our great leaders in this community who was right there, Kia Tillman. I looked her right in the eye. I said, listen, because I was already hearing how bad it was from people around me. And I said, do not let anyone talk about this negatively or project any bad outcome, only positive. And so we must have a strong picture or mental concept and hold it regardless of the circumstances or conditions. So regardless of a new war starting, or regardless of more forest fires, or regardless of the political situation, whatever, right? We must. Because sooner or later, if we hold that, Ernest Holmes tells us, and it's been proven 1,000,000 times, it'll manifest according to the concept. So we have to continue to thrive. And so I was like, okay, I let go of the salary and I let go of the benefits and all that. I'm going to continue to thrive. We're going to continue to thrive no matter what. I just knew that my what was I'm going to travel the world with my camera in my hand, and I'm now going to have a ministry that provides priceless experiences and deep connections in beautiful places all over the planet. And that changes hearts and that changes minds, and that brings us to greater oneness. And I hold that, and I have to hold that. Oh, well, there aren't enough people signed up for Costa Rica yet. I don't care. I hold it. It's a full tour. I don't care. Right? Oh, there's another one right behind it, not full yet. I don't care. We're going to do this. But I've put all this money down on deposit. I don't care. This is my mental equivalent. So come to Costa Rica with us in January. I'm telling you. 6 more spots. Let's do it. We can do it. Get out of the cold, wherever you are, even in here. So that was number 1. What's number 1? Yay. Thank you, Michael Brundy, always on the front row. Great student. Number 2, what's the next thing we got to do? Well, we've got to embody. Well, this one got me too. And I'm a kinesthetic person, but we've got to embody. Okay, so Ernest Holmes says, for everything that happens in the objective world, there must be something in the subjective world. Because object is subject to what's in here, right? So most of the inner process of our thought has been unconscious for a lot of our lives, right? But when we understand the law, we learn to consciously embody what we wish and think of it only. And then it's sort of magically, it seems, drawn silently to us, and there it is. There's no magic to it. It's just the way it works, right? So to embody, I call it like, it has to live within me, like take up residence, like really hang out and take up the whole house, like embody. Embody the what? So, have you ever noticed that, I did this morning, when you put on a really smashing outfit, have you noticed how you shift and how you walk in the world? Like you could have been like, but then you're like, well, I'm going to this party or I'm coming to this concert or whatever, and I am going to put this on to ensure that I actually walk out the door. Or you have a date, right? And you want to feel more confident. And so you put on like a really smashing outfit, right? You the outfit sort of embodies you, and because you've embodied it, what happens? Everything within you changes. You like walk different. You're just strutting. thank God Willie Breedlove answered the call last night because this Leo wanted her hair done and can't, so she showed up at 8:30 this morning and did my hair. So I could stand here and then y'all was supposed to laugh, but it's okay. You know, and it's like, so embody whatever it takes. So like, it's, and it, to continue to let it grow inside of us. So maybe at the beginning it's like, really? Left thumb? But I'm like, yes. And, you know, really, humanity? We're just in our terrible twos, so we're going to grow out of this eventually. Oh, and wait till we're teenagers, you know. So we can do this, right? So we're constituted that we actually, it's part of us that we can continuously increase our embodiment. Ernest Holmes says we grow in grace, as it were. I love that. So we grow in power, and theoretically, there should be no limit to that growth. So wherever you've gotten to already, thanks to this philosophy, faith, or life, we get to keep growing. There's no limit to it, right? But right today, we can expect to demonstrate or to have our prayers answered according to our belief in the embodiment of the belief. I don't know how to tell people how to embody, but try it on. Start with, wear something really cool tonight. Just embody it on the inside. Okay. Then the third thing, the third really important one, and I didn't realize how important this was until a couple of years ago. The third one is, there we go. If we have real embodiment, then we can demonstrate, Ernest Holmes says, and that's true. So we must have that real embodiment. And it must demonstrate. So imagine, embody, and then the third one is expect. And I did not understand how significant this was until a couple of years ago. I went with people from this community to a place I've always wanted to go, and that was South Africa, to do safari in South Africa in 2022. And I expected to be able to see the Big Five and all this, but there was something in me. This Leo really wanted to see the big male lions, you know. So I imagined the big boys with the big mane and just incredible presence and power. And I imagine not only seeing them, but them walking right towards me with my camera in my hand. And I just kept imagining that. And we had 6 game drives while we were there. And everybody was in their Jeep and having the experiences, and some people would see the rhinos, you know, on that day, but we didn't, and vice versa. And we were down to the last game drive, the last night. What was interesting, though, is each time that we did not see the big male lions, my expectancy went up. I made sure of it. I'm like, I don't care that we didn't see it the past 3 times. I didn't care that we didn't see it the past 4 times. Now there's only 2 chances. You see, if I had focused on, I don't think I'm going to see them because I didn't see it last 4. You see, my expectancy kept rising. I was like, no. And I had Lisa Blackford in the Jeep doing the same thing. I said, Lisa, come on, we can do this together. We expect to see these male lions. And it just so happened that we got the call from another Jeep way away from us, and it said, 2 males spotted. Well, my expectancy went way up then. But we had to get through the bush, and we had to get there, and it was getting dark, and, you know, all these parameters, but my expectancy went up. My expectancy went so high, so far up, that I started weeping because while we were driving, it was like lion was right there. It was the real deal inside of me. My expectancy went off the chart. So much so, I'm like, how am I going to hold the camera when I really see this lion? Because I was living it so much inside of me. And there it was. Dale and Fran Morgan have this hanging in their home, and a couple other people. But it was like, and then I not only expected to see it, but I expected that it would like walk in just the position where I could get a great picture of it. And I learned so much about the power of the expectancy. Here's one that I use all the time. This is a great tool. Please pick this up. Expect. I expect when I go over to the switch, I expect when I flip that switch that I'm going to turn the light on. How about you? Do you ever think about it? I do every single time. I like knowing that light's going to come on when I flip that switch. I expect it. And I use that. Same with the water faucet, but we're just going to focus on the light. You know, I expect it. And if that light doesn't come on, I'm like, what's up with that? I expected that light to come on. Now, I changed the bulb. I still got the light, you see? But I expect it every single time. Well, what about this for your financial life? What about this for your relationship life? Do you flip the switch and expect to that level? Yeah, what if it's been 14 years and you still haven't met your soulmate? Who cares? Expect it. I had someone this morning share the great news. We've been holding it in expectancy. I'm like, I knew one day you were going to tell me. You found somebody. So expectancy. I expect every single month. I don't care. And I'm saying this, see, with that embodiment in me, this is not like ego. This is embodiment. I expect every single month, no matter what, we're able to pay our credit card bills off. Every month, no matter what we're doing. I had to work on that a little bit when I let go of that salary. Okay? I didn't even start paying me a little salary until earlier this year, and it was $2,000 a month. I was like, well, whatever. But I'm expecting, because we're debt-free, and I'm not going into debt, and I'm not going to go into our savings either. And last year this time, when I released this position, Peter's son needed a $10,000 vehicle. I still expected to pay our credit card bill off. Recently, we've had all kinds of unexpected expenses every month. In fact, it used to be what Peter would do, because she would, she does all the banking, which is really good. I appreciate it. Thank you, honey. And she would just say, will you pay X amount to the Citibank card? And I'm like, sure. So I used to be in the process. Now, she's just paying it. I get a little message online that said, oh, a big withdrawal. That's our credit card bill. And I'm like, oh, isn't that great? Because I flip the switch and I expect it. And that's how come I think we have more than enough to share and to spare. I never back off of our tithing in here. In fact, I need to give this center more. It's true. I thought about that 3 days ago. Wow, I just gave myself a raise. That means CSLDallas gets one too. Because I know what happens. I'll talk about that in 2 weeks. Y'all better come for that one. So, but I don't ask her every month. Listen to this. I don't go, honey, do we have enough money to pay off that credit card bill? I don't ever ask. Because I expect that we do. We just, and she did say last month, because there were some lawyer bills and stuff for the family, for our granddaughter, and I was like, whoa, and then the car up north needed big repairs, woo, I was just like, yeah, whatever, But again, not touching retirement, not tapping into that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, you know what, we're just going to sell this 1 acre that we were gifted in New Hampshire, but you can't build on. It just closed, and we just got the money yesterday, right at the time that credit card bill is due. But I expect that, and I know this is challenging. Believe me, I know that this is challenging around money for whatever reason. But I just have built my expectancy, right? And so I expect to stay debt-free and have more than enough to share and to spare. Now, imagine. Let's go back to imagine. When you flip that light on, is it that or this? What do you expect? We got to grow beyond where we are. So this is just a visual. Just imagine. So, is it one light bulb or is it all these light bulbs? Oh, perhaps it's this many. Whatever we can imagine and embody and expect. And maybe because we're all individualized expressions, maybe it's something really cool like this. Doesn't have to be a light bulb. Because your life is different than mine. But when you flip that switch, right? Do you expect? So Ernest Holmes tells us that this is sort of like the wrap-up of it all. He says, it follows then that the range of our possibilities at the present time does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. As we bring ourselves, and this is our work, as we bring ourselves to a greater vision, we induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate more in our experience. In this way, there is a continuous growth and unfolding taking place, right? So, he says, we do not expect to give a treatment today for prosperity and have 1 million tomorrow. And it depends on what you embody, but that's sort of the point. We grow in this. We grow the me. We grow the mental equivalent. We grow our imagination. We grow our embodiment. We grow our expectation. And he says, but little by little, we can unfold our consciousness through the acquisition of greater and still greater mental equivalents until, he says, at last, we shall be made free. I have a lot of stresses in my life, but I'm grateful that one of them for me, because of my mental equivalence and my expectancy, is not financial, right? But because I feel free there. I felt free enough to let my full-time position go and to trust. So the way to proceed for any of us, no matter where we are and what we've done, is actually to begin where we are right now. And how much can you? Well, how much can you imagine, embody, expect? Because that's as much as you in your own life can experience, as much as we as a community can. There's no limit to that, and humanity in life itself. Just think about me. And so it is.